Hello and welcome to this episode of True North. My name is Padraig and this week we're in conversation with Natalie Nugent. Natalie is the owner and creator of Complete Wellness Therapies based in Lisburn, Northern Ireland. Complete Wellness hosts a range of different therapists and complementary therapies such as Reiki energy healing, massage, reflexology, as well as their upcoming training academy which Natalie talks to me about in this episode. Natalie began her solo journey for personal reasons, but really grew and flourished over that time and has created such an amazing brand and business that so many people enjoy on a daily basis. Today, we go a little bit deeper into how Natalie got to where she is today and the experiences that she's had along the way. So, if you're ready, let's get into it. Natalie,
Hello.
welcome. Complete Wellness Therapies is your business. And as far as I'm aware, that's a therapy centre that comprises itself of a team of diverse therapists who are highly qualified holistic therapists and practitioners aiming to support a client's journey to optimal health and wellness.
Correct.
Yeah, perfect. Just to start us off and to follow on from that, because that's obviously quite a big part of your journey, just for the people that don't know who you are, what is it that you do and why do you do it?
Well, I suppose primarily I am a therapist myself and I love working with people and basically trying to help people be a better version of themselves. So my main thing is doing one-to-one treatments, whether it be massage, reflexology, energy work, or a mixture of those things. That's, I suppose, primarily what I do to make people feel better and to know that if they're stuck in any way in their lives, whether in a physical pain or mental or emotional trouble, that maybe trying different therapies can help them overcome whatever they need to overcome, and or make themselves feel better so that they're living their best life.
Yeah. It's probably a term thrown around quite a lot, like living your best life, because a lot of people sort of associate it with like life coaching and things like that now these days, or like mindset mentoring, but it really does encompass mind, body and soul. So it's very much a holistic approach, I suppose, that you and the other ladies that work within your space take. Why do you feel the holistic approach is so important?
I think in this day and age there's been a lot more focus on like the medical route, where a lot of people are just, when they go to the doctors for a certain reason, they're just given a prescription for tablets of some form, rather than actually addressing, well, what is the real reason why you're feeling this way, and could there be more to it than you've just got an ache somewhere in your body, or that you just feel down all the time. There's a tablet. I think it's about, it is looking into the mental aspect of someone's life and their emotional journey that they've been on, and how can you unravel that to, I suppose, help them feel better, which might then in turn help their pain. If they're in a physical pain as such.
Yeah, absolutely. And what type of physical pain, obviously from my perspective, and obviously you do energy work as well, from my perspective, a lot of physical pain does come about as a manifestation of emotional issues or blockages that might be deep within. What type of physical pain do you experience sort of on a daily basis with clients?
So for me, it's primarily back pain and headaches. The odd time it'll be a knee pain, but the majority of them is back. So for a lot of ladies in particular, it'll be lower back, but a lot suffer from just the carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders, and that I suppose leads to the knotted shoulders, sore necks, which then can also lead to headaches as well. But some people, especially women, would have quite hormonal issues going on, which can have an effect on their headaches and migraines as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I definitely want to go into more of the feminine or female orientated practices that you do. Obviously I'm not, but it's very interesting to me, because I from my personal experience, I know a few people who have maybe, fertility issues, or even, clients of my own who I've maybe picked up on those things through energy work as well. So I'm always really interested to get the actual perspective of somebody who's actually working with those types of clients and helping those people on their journeys. And I know you do quite a lot of that already, and we'll go into a little bit of detail about that. The concept of bringing together a group of therapists, I'm really curious, how that happened. Was it that you had friends who joined you on that journey, or did you meet people along the way? How did that come about?
Oh, well, I suppose I could start at the beginning where I first got into it, when I was off on maternity leave,
Right.
when I was actually working in corporate banking.
Right.
So my background is corporate banking, which is
Such a complete contrast, yeah.
complete contrast. So I was there for a number of years and on maternity leave, which then kind of led me to think, actually, what do I want to do with my life?
Yeah.
So I was quite brave, I suppose, and then I knew that I always loved going and having treatments myself. So I started studying them off on my maternity leave. And I suppose I ran 2 maternity leaves one into the other. So I took 2.5 years off on maternity leave from the bank while having the 2 babies, but which gave me loads of time to study. And from that, I then went, right, I'm going to try this, just friends and family, first of all. So I did start out on my own, working in a room in the house, which wasn't ideal with 2 young babies.
Oh, well, I can imagine. Well, I can only imagine.
So then I did go on to have a 3rd baby,
Right.
while still working in the bank. Got another maternity leave out of that one. And
Amazing.
then I knew when I was off on that maternity leave that was me. I was not going back there.
Yeah.
So I did get redundancy, which was great.
Yeah.
And then I just bit the bullet and asked a girl who had a therapy place. I knew she had an extra room. So I thought I'd trial it out, working there. So that's kind of how I started, and I was just renting a room in another place. Built up, quite a good clientele quite quickly, just because I'm so passionate about what I do, and a lot of it's word of mouth. And then from there, I was restricted with what treatments I could do in that place. So the opportunity came up where I seen a space which I could take on by myself. So that is what I did. And it was with the thought I would like to have other girls join me. Mainly because I don't see anyone as competition. I think there's enough room for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone attracts someone different with their different energy, and what's right for someone won't be right for someone else, and vice versa. Plus, I love the idea of like what I call a magic mix. So it's,
Talk to me about that.
I just think sometimes one type of therapy or treatment isn't maybe it can get someone so far, but maybe they need a bit of something else to get them even further. So it's about having that, those options, I suppose. There's some people that will come to me and they might have, say, 6 sessions with me, and I know that that's as far as I can bring them.
Right.
So if I have someone else I can recommend them to, going, why don't you try this next? I think that will really help with X, Y, or Z, and it means it's all under the one roof, and they've got that, I suppose, diversity that they can go, oh yeah, I actually really enjoyed that, or that helped. I might not be able to help with certain things that other people will be better equipped to do.
Did you ever feel there was an element of risk to what you were doing when you were sort of growing and expanding?
That's very interesting, because I am quite pro-risk.
Really?
So yeah, I am kind of like, I weigh it up and I go, so it is, you obviously have to think about it and be sensible, and think of your costs and what realistically you need to break even. But I think the main thing is having belief in yourself. So a lot of my family members are very risk averse. So that was my biggest struggle,
Right.
was actually battling other people, going, but just say this and just say that, kind of putting the red flags up and the warning signs. And which was good in a way, because it gave me something to think about and go, well, okay, yeah, I see where you're coming from, but if this doesn't work, then this is the risk, and this is and can we deal with that? Well, yeah, we can. So it is about being sensible, but it's also I just had such belief in what I did, and I just was like, well, you know, look at the clients I've built up already from just renting a room. I know there's loads of good therapists out there, so if they join me, sure, you know, you're on to a winner.
Yeah, you're only building upon something great that you've already started to make.
Yeah.
You know, I think it is. It's really important that somebody should have belief within themselves, because if you don't believe in yourself, how are you going to be able to believe in the vision that you have? I just want to change direction on the compass a little bit, and flip it around the other way, and just give me a little bit of an insight into sort of your formative years. Talk to me about that, you know, and how that's maybe sort of shaped the person you are today.
Oh, well, I suppose I grew up with, I've got one sister, and we're very close. We're Irish twins, so there's only 11 months and 11 days between us. And the number 1111 is very significant for me.
Yeah, wow.
So I always look out for it as a wee sign.
Yeah.
And we were brought up by my mum primarily, because my mum and dad were separated. And my dad died then when I was only 24.
Right.
So he, you know, obviously wasn't a big part of my life. And I suppose that, you know, in itself has an impact. So whenever that happened, I suppose I went on a bit of a spiritual journey myself. We got very interested in energy work and angel cards and going to little workshops. I just find it a bit of a source of comfort. And then school life was, you know, good, did well at school. Got my A-levels, went on to Queen's and got a degree in geography. Couldn't tell you one thing about geography.
I would never have guessed that. That's really interesting. That's fantastic. I love geography, as you know, crystals.
Well,
you know.
Yeah. Well, it's the biggest joke in my friendship group, because I've no idea of where anything is in the world.
I think that's probably the misconception with everybody thinks geography is like understanding the map, you know, and that's not even it. Like, that's just basic level, you know.
Totally. But yeah, I did get the degree, and then fell into the banking world somehow. But weirdly, with the degree, I was able to, because I was in the admin side of the banking team, but they started a graduate program the year I joined. So if you had a degree of any sort, you could go on to that program.
Right.
So I was then able to go on to it, and I was able to transfer over then into the lending side in the corporate banking world. So it did serve its purpose, because like the lending side was obviously a lot more financially better.
Stimulating or something like that.
Yes. And that's, and I was really happy there for a good while, but it was quite salesy, competitive, and as a female in that environment, you always were kind of, it was just a very male-dominated environment.
Right. Okay.
So you were always kind of really trying to hold your own, and more so in that way, which I could do. But I think it got to a stage then when the financial crisis kind of happened in 2007, 2008. Our jobs changed overnight. So you're just more like a debt collector.
Right. Okay.
Because everyone, you know, all the money that you'd lent out, no one could pay it back. So it was a bit depressing. So then it was around that time then, I just thought, I think I need a bit of a career change. And really, I got married as well in the meantime. I've been with my husband actually 26 years.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. And like, where did you sort of meet your husband? You know, how long were you together before you got engaged and stuff?
All right. So I was just 18 when we first met, and then we didn't actually get engaged until I was in my 20s, and got married then when I was 27, about turned 28. So
I think that's a good age.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very nice.
So then we got our house together. And then decided we'd try for a family, and that led into a cool career change as well.
Yeah, fantastic. I know you haven't mentioned it so far, but I know it's part of your journey. In so far as that you sometimes talk about having a close family member who struggled with fertility issues, I think it was, or fertility problems, and that sort of guided you into that world as well of complementary and alternative therapies, in a sense. Tell me a bit more about that, and that journey.
Well, I suppose seeing someone that you're close to going through the hardships of trying to conceive and, being let down and disappointed on so many different occasions, it's just heartbreaking. And I think back then it wasn't as much talked about as it maybe is even nowadays. And even nowadays, some people do still shy away from it.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it is getting a bit more common knowledge, but this person went through such dark times, such to say, and it really shocked me to see even how other people are very insensitive to situations like that and don't maybe think, oh, maybe there's a reason why she doesn't have any children yet, rather than maybe someone, some people might decide they don't want children, which is totally fine and totally different. But to see someone that you really care about really struggling, and the impact that has on their mental health first and foremost, and their relationship as well. So it really encouraged me to explore that more, because I was like, there has to be more of a support for girls in this situation. And I think the more you talk about it, the more other people are open up then to say, well, actually that happened to me, or I know someone who's maybe going through that but they don't like to talk to anyone. I think that's why a lot of girls come to me, because it's like I'm totally out of their family life, so they can say whatever they need to say to me that they maybe wouldn't feel comfortable saying to a close family member, even about like how they emotionally feel. And just even having that comfort and support is so beneficial for these girls. But as I kind of looked into more different courses that I could do, I got a little bit obsessed. Not gonna lie.
As we do.
Yeah, you just fall into that rabbit hole, don't you?
Yeah.
So because I'd already got my qualifications in reflexology and massage, I was then able to go on and specialise in reflexology for fertility and massage for fertility. And then I would do energy work as well, and I would do a bit of auricular acupuncture too. And then I discovered another treatment called Body Talk, which
I've heard a little bit about it.
Yeah, it's not very well known here, but I was just quite blown away by that as well. It's more of like an energy therapy with a lot of different tapping techniques involved,
Right, okay.
And about restoring communication in the body. So I kind of just use a bit of a magic mix now with people who come, but you can really help girls, say, with their cycles, to regulate cycles, to help know when they're, ovulating, or to try and prime them in a better position, or to try and encourage better egg production, things like that. So also you can assist them if they're on an IVF journey. I always work with the meds that they're on, and I will tailor each treatment depending on where they are on that IVF journey. And it's just lovely. It's so rewarding being part of someone's journey, especially if there's a good result at the end of it. But even if there's not, you're still there to support them. And obviously you can't help everyone, but you can in some way.
Yeah.
You
say, and I read, I believe that women need a range of alternative therapies that support their journey from childhood and the stresses of working life to becoming a mother, going through perimenopause, or menopause, or coping with a critical illness. Do you find then that your personal journey, that experience and anything that has happened in your own life, even your own experience in childbirth and pregnancy and things like that, has informed you with your work? And for example, it informs you to be able to help the people that you work with?
Yes, to an extent. I suppose it's always good to have life experience, because that really shows through as a therapist. Don't get me wrong, there could be some really young therapists that can have great knowledge and wisdom as well, but I do think it's good that you can be relatable to a point, because people pick up on that and they like someone who can genuinely understand. However, there are there are always going to be situations where you cannot properly understand what someone's going through, you know, and you will never want to understand what they're going through or feel it, but you can always empathise to, you know, an extent. But I do think that being, I suppose, listening is massive as well. You know, that's just like a really big thing, and not being judgmental as well. But it's always good to have your own little story to be able to tell someone, well, I kind of know where you're coming from because, yeah, I've gone through this, or I know someone very close to me who's experienced something very similar to you. People like to not feel alone, and that's a big thing as well, you know.
Yeah. Reflexology, is that where it all started? Is that the first thing that you went into?
Reflexology was the first thing I went into, and I suppose it's primarily because I didn't know how comfortable I would be with massage at the time. So I was like, well, feet, you know, you're touching a bit of the body, but you're away from the, you know, the upper body. But also I was just really fascinated by it, as in that the whole body is basically mapped out on the soles of the feet. It's like, wow, that's just mind-blowing. But also maybe I was a wee bit skeptical as well, but, you know, going, is that, you know, I need to know, I need to kind of see this to believe it as well. So then I fell into the rabbit hole of that one, going, oh my God, right, there really is something in this. And to be able to hold someone's feet and feel crystals in someone's feet in certain areas where they have problems with, and for them to feel it too, is just brilliant, you know, and it's just complete confirmation that it works and it is correct, and you can't hide anything once you've got those feet looking at you. You know, you can feel where is not balanced in the body, and where it might need a bit of more TLC or a bit of care, whatever it might be. Or if they need to go to the doctors, you can kind of go, well, maybe you should go and get that checked out, see if those thyroid levels are, you know, functioning okay, or whatever it might be. So yeah, I suppose that was and because it is quite medical as well, it does have a good medical aspect to it, rather than, say, rubbing someone's knots out. You can kind of go, okay, maybe your liver is a wee bit, you know, you need to,
because you're looking for that, you're sort of working with that area,
so you can kind of focus a wee bit more in, and then the client always loves the feedback as well from it, and then you can, especially if they come quite regularly, you get to know their feet and what way they are, and then go, oh God, that area's really improved. Or if someone's maybe come with like UTIs, recurrent UTIs, and you can kind of feel that in the crystals in the feet. Right. And then you can help them clear that as well. So you're kind of working, you know, they might need an antibiotic, or they might need something, you know, from the doctors, but it can really help, you know, or sometimes they don't. They just do reflexology, but, you know, it depends. But it's just, I just think it's a good way of getting maybe more skeptical people in that maybe wouldn't kind of pick or, you know, think or rate alternative or complementary therapies. They can kind of go, actually, there is something in that, and that did work for me, and I could feel the benefits of that. So
I've spoke to so many people that have done reflexology, A, as a client, and B, you know, I know people that do reflexology just as a therapist, as a practitioner, and everybody that does it loves it. Like it's like you said, like it's not like, you know, it's not just rubbing somebody's knots out, you know. And I think a lot of people might just look at it and go, they're just doing a massage on my foot. But it's a lot more than that, isn't it?
Yeah, there's so much more. You use different thumb techniques over the feet, so you can certainly do massage some areas, but you are more getting in depth and very like pinpointed almost, points on the feet, and I suppose activating like the endocrine system. So, you know, especially if you're working with a lot of women, you know, to do with hormones. So for instance, I would use it a lot and work the endocrine system a lot for fertility clients, but also women going through the menopause and perimenopause, because you're helping promote, say, more estrogen that they're maybe lacking in these days, or progesterone, things like that. And they can really notice like a really significant drop in their unpleasant side effects from, say, the menopause, like their sweats. I've had loads of women phone me up and go, oh my God, what did you do? My sweats have stopped. This is amazing, I need more of this. So even to be able to help people in that way, it's just fabulous.
Amazing. Yeah, I think it's definitely something, I'd love to try someday. The fertility aspect of it, what is the difference between just normal reflexology and incorporating the fertility side of it?
So in the fertility reflexology, you're working with like the ovaries a lot more,
Right.
but also the pituitary gland. So you wouldn't. There's a lot less detail, let's just say, in a normal reflexology diploma
Right.
compared to the fertility one. Plus, in the fertility one, you're working with the female cycle, so you're going to stimulate certain areas more if they're coming up to ovulation,
Right.
and you're going to be avoiding areas then if they have gone through ovulation and they're after ovulation.
Right.
So it's kind of working with where they are in their cycle. So you're either stimulating or you're easing off, and you're encouraging implantation, for example, if there was to be something there.
Yeah, amazing. And it's just fascinating that you can do that all through the feet.
Oh, it's just it's fabulous.
And
And even to get like,
amazed.
the feedback from a lot of clients who say might have polycystic ovaries, which is really common, or endometriosis, and their cycle could be very long, like it could be 40, 50, 60 even days, and they need to get it down because they haven't a clue when they're going to be ovulating, if they're going to be ovulating, and then for them to come back after a while, go, okay, right, I'm down to 35 days, this is amazing, or I'm down to 28 days, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And then they know when their body's ovulating, and even getting them in tune with their own body.
I mostly do sort of energy work, but I still pick up on a lot of reproductive issues.
Yeah.
And it's I always say it to the client, like on a one-to-one basis, I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm going to tell you this, but I personally don't feel like I have the right to, because I don't have a reproductive system that is the same as yours. But like picking up on endometriosis, PCOS, and even being very specific about which ovary the issue is on, it amazes me. But when I was doing that, and throughout the years that I've been doing energy work, it's really came to my attention and my awareness the amount of women that do have those issues.
Oh my goodness.
Like you wouldn't, unless you were speaking to people about it and you were
Yeah.
working, with people who have those issues, you wouldn't think that there are so many people out there that do have those
It's
issues.
terrifying, and we're so behind in this country to recognise it and to deal with it and to get it early. And that's one thing that I'm really wanting to, I suppose, bring awareness to is, especially I've got 3 daughters, so I mean, there's a
Yeah.
lot to come. But it's if people, a lot of my clients are, say, my age, they're in their 40s, or but they've had maybe polycystic ovaries or endometriosis from childhood, from
Right.
teenage years, where they
Yeah.
were collapsing in school when they were getting their period, which is just not normal.
Yeah.
But because people don't have much awareness, they just think they can't handle having a period, which is awful.
Or they just think it's some other type of medical condition going on,
Yeah,
if they're not
absolutely.
aware of what it is.
Yeah, and then that person feels like, oh God, what's wrong with me? Because why can everyone else function normally, but I can't?
Yeah.
Can I not deal with this kind of stuff?
Yeah.
And they start to doubt themselves and their own body
Yeah.
when there's actually something more very severe going on.
Yeah.
So it's about kind of bringing awareness to that, and what's normal and what's not normal, and if things aren't normal and things are at a heightened state of like pain, or where you're collapsing or fainting, things like that, you need to get medical attention and
Yeah.
kind of like be quite forceful with the doctors, because some doctors, again, unfortunately, they don't give it the attention that it maybe needs.
Yeah, yeah. And I was going to just say that sort of just on the back end of that, for anybody that's going through those things, they mightn't even realize what their body's trying to tell them.
Yeah.
What would your advice be?
Oh, well, it's I suppose it's about educating yourself, but also the parents. And as parents, we need to start thinking about our children that are coming up, so that we know what's normal, so that we can look out for them when they're going to be starting that journey, to say, right, and so that they know what's normal and what's normal to be going through, and just having that awareness and the knowledge of your body. And if things are not normal, right, we need to start talking about it, and then go, right, well, where can we go to try and get advice or help on this
Yeah.
medically?
Yeah, I think the old phrase "ignorance is bliss" is out the window with that
Yeah,
one. Like we
totally.
really have to open ourselves up and be more aware of these things. Just a quick word from our sponsors on this podcast. This week's sponsor is Simply Zen. Simply Zen is one of the most amazing, magical, and spiritual, holistic, and well-being brands in Northern Ireland today and across the UK. Simply Zen hosts a range of different events, a range of different training academies, and they also have fantastic products on their website and in store that range from crystals, such as the one I'm wearing on my neck at the moment, to incense, jewelry, novelty gifts, ritual items, and so much more. Everything for your magical needs. Simply Zen is the home of holistic well-being, and if you want to visit them, they're based in Belfast City Centre and in Lisburn as well. You can also visit their online store, simplyzen.co.uk, and if you want to check out any of the events they have on, they always put out their events at the start of every single month, whether that is training courses, ceremonies, retreats, or just a simple meditation and sound bath experience. Simply Zen is there for all of your spiritual, mindful, emotional, and well-being needs. They also have a range of different therapies such as Reiki energy healing, Indian head massage, Rahani celestial healing, Hopi ear candling, facials, and so much more. So if you're into your spirituality, if you're into your mindfulness, if you're into your well-being, check out simplyzen.co.uk. And if you're wanting to shop online for an amazing gift or something just to treat yourself, don't forget to use the code TRUENORTH for 10% off. That's TRUNORTH, True North, in your voucher code at the checkout for 10% off. So, why wait around? Make your life magical today with Simply Zen. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about, I don't do too much of this myself. Well, I don't do any reflexology, funny enough, but working with children in reflexology, because I know you do a bit of that. What's that like? What are the results like there?
I love working with kids, and I suppose that's one thing that's really increased, primarily since lockdown. There's been so much heightened anxiety and different, conditions that are coming out of this that, we're seeing through the kids. But if it's a particularly young child, like I've had, babies, mums have brought their babies in, so that's fine. They just normally hold them and you can work wee areas for them. But I've had kind of regular kids as young as 3.
Right.
3, maybe 5, that would come for different reasons. So you're normally only going to get half an hour out of those ones.
Yeah.
Because they can't sit too long. But they do love it. And it's great having then the response back from the parents, and the mum will go, "Oh my God, my child slept amazing. What did you do?" Or they were able to go to the toilet, because sometimes it can be toilet issues.
Amazing.
Sometimes it could just be they just need relaxation as well.
Yeah.
But then I would quite often have older children. When I say older, maybe in around like 9, 10, 11. When they're kind of maybe transitioning out of primary school into secondary school. So I would do a lot of that kind of work, and they just love the reflexology. Some kids they want a massage, but they're actually quite they're too sensitive, probably a bit like yourself. It's like, and it's also weird for a child to be touched, not by their parent.
Yeah.
In that way, so I don't actually really encourage that unless they've got specific, like a shoulder injury or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just so much less invasive to do their feet.
Yeah.
And they just melt with it. You can really see everything just drop, and they can just go, because it's so relaxing.
Yeah.
I do love working with kids in that respect. But of course, I bring a bit of energy work in, and I've got little chakra aura sprays, make it very child friendly.
Yeah.
Maybe give them a crystal.
I love that. Segueing our way into energy healing, funny enough. What was it that drew you to energy work as such? Obviously you said before, you were into angel cards and different workshops and stuff like that. Did you always sort of feel that intuitive call? Did you always sort of feel like heightened to energies?
It was funny. I didn't think that I was heightened to energies before I kind of realised that I was, if that makes sense. But I suppose going to different workshops over the years, I could feel different shifts in me when someone was working with me, and I'm like, oh my goodness, how did that happen? I could really feel that, but they didn't even have their hands on me. Do you know what I mean? So I suppose really could feel the powerfulness of it and how much it helped and the beauty of it, actually, you know. It's just like, and like I'd be quite a visual person, so loads of different visions would pop into my head, or colours as well, and it would just totally blow my mind. So then I suppose getting into the therapy world, I would have gone to a lot of other different people for different therapies myself, just to see how other people worked.
Yep.
And I could really then tell the difference between, how could I put it, like a physical therapist, as such, where someone is just maybe giving me reflexology, and a holistic therapist where they're still giving me reflexology, but they're doing it energetically as well as physically. And it's night and day, the difference. So I was like, well, that's the way I don't want to just be a physical person working on someone's feet. I want to bring the energy. I
want a magic mix.
Yeah, I want the magic mix. And I just think, you know, so I try and actually bring Reiki or energy work into any treatment I do. So whether it's a massage, whether it's reflexology. So people don't know they're getting it, but I'm working energetically with them as well as actually physically working on their body.
You're so right. Like, that is the difference between a physical therapist, a physical practitioner, and somebody who is, or who calls themselves a holistic therapist, you know, because you're embracing all aspects. You're embracing the physical because you're doing that physical work. You're embracing the emotional because you're tapping into the emotions of the client. And you're also embracing the mental because you're also working with what sort of thoughts are going through their mind, what's their processing like, you know. But that's not always sort of it. A lot of the time, as I'm sure you'll agree, it just sort of happens now. You know, at the start you're sort of like, did I feel that? And then you're like, can I do this? And then all of a sudden, like, you know, 2, 3, 4 months later, you're like, yeah, this is normal. I'm just picking up on this.
I can't not do it now. You know, it's just part of my treatment.
And how do you work when you're just doing like a Reiki session, or you know, even just intuitively?
Again, I'd be probably quite similar to you. A lot of mine would be just a sense of feeling. So I'll maybe feel a bit stuck in my throat. Say if that person has got, say, a throat issue. So like, I want to swallow, you know, things like that, or I will energetically feel, like if I'm feeling the top of their head or their forehead and it just feels like it's going crazy, like 100 miles an hour, I'll feel that energy coming off their head. So I'll be like, right, I just need to hold this for a while. The odd time I'll get this, it's going to sound a bit weird, but I'll get like a clicking in my ear.
Right, okay.
So that will happen sometimes. I'm like, oh, here we go again. I'll just need to hold whatever I'm holding until that clicking stops. There have been a couple of times where I've had to leave the room and be sick.
Really?
on a really, this happened with 2 clients. One had such immense trauma, and I just was like, and I'm not a sick person at all, and I was like, oh, I just felt this real, oh my goodness, I am actually going to be sick.
Oh God.
So I had to go, sorry, I just need to leave, I'll be back in a wee minute. And then with someone else who actually had cancer. Right. She didn't know at the time, and I had to go leave the room and be sick. And then she, you know, it was discovered then afterwards. She had breast cancer.
Wow.
So strange.
The other thing that I think is probably a mixture of both. If, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, energy work and physical therapy, is the sacred women's massage and the wrapping that you do as well. Talk me through that for anybody that doesn't know, because I don't know too much about it myself.
Well, it's just such a beautiful treatment to give and receive. So I was really drawn to do this particular course with a lady called Claire Spink, who's from England, but she would come over here once a year to do it, and now we've got our own girl who does it here.
Trains it,
Sarah. And basically it originally started as fertility massage, but has grown so much more, and it's more like, you know, kind of like a womb wisdom, womb release, whatever you might want to call it. But it's working physically with the body and the digestive system and the reproductive system, but you are releasing trauma that may be held in there. And as women, it's kind of like our go-to to push things down. Therein lies the womb. So a lot of women, if they've gone through any kind of trauma or just emotional feelings about themselves, like negative ones from childhood or whatever it might be, it does seem to be stored in the womb. So the training that I did in it was just so beautiful, but also very releasing. And to know, because you experience it yourself, so you kind of know your own journey, and you're able to watch other people's journey and what they might have gone through, and how energetically you can release this trauma that might be held in the womb, which can then go on to make everyone's physical, kind of cycles better, their, reproductive, challenges seem less. And then you bring in the sacrum and the whole pelvis as well. So there could be like back issues, but it could be from a trauma that this person suffered as a child. Or insecurity issues, some kind of stability that was knocked from them, from a young age. So you're kind of, again, working physically, but you're working with the client to tap into stuff that they might not even know about, they might not even remember. And then we use these rebozo wraps.
I've heard of them from people who have done the training in your place,
So they're quite spiritual. They're just beautiful bits of cloth material, hand woven. Mine are from Mexico, and they're just so pretty. Amazing. So you basically, at the end of that treatment, you wrap the body in these wraps, and you just feel so held and cocooned. So it's kind of like going back to the womb.
That's amazing.
And then you leave the client there, for a while to embrace in that energy and that healing process. And then the unwrapping it's kind of quite symbolic as the butterfly.
I was just going to say, it sounds like you're cocooning someone, and then afterwards, as you take that away, bit by bit, sort of the wings are starting to just,
that's it.
come out.
That's the way you do it, and the way, you're taught, and the way you work with the client. It's about energetically making them feel like that. This is them being reborn without all the stuff that has maybe held them down and held them back in life. So it's just such a beautiful, beautiful treatment. I love giving it.
It sounds. I want it now. I'm like, wrap me, please. That's incredible. And is that just for people who are sort of finding it difficult to get pregnant, or is it also for people who? Is it beneficial for those people who maybe aren't necessarily looking to increase their fertility issues, but maybe have like endometriosis, PCOS, whatever it may be, but they're not necessarily looking for, the solution to get pregnant
100%.
as such?
When I first came across it, I thought it would just be fertility clients, so to speak, I'd be working with, and I've realised it has grown to so much more. So like any person, not even, they don't have to be female, it should have that kind of treatment. I've done it with lots of people who are not looking to have children, who have no desire to have children, but they have maybe they just want they know they've got held trauma in their bodies, and they just want help releasing it, or maybe their digestive system hasn't been working right. They're like, Joe, I just think that would really help me. There's something about it that I'm really drawn to. I've also given that treatment to women with no womb who've had a hysterectomy, and it's maybe the loss of that. Some girls have. One girl in particular, she was quite young when she had to have a hysterectomy in her 30s, and she never really got over the loss of that happening to her at such a young age. So it's about acceptance. So you're kind of bringing in the energy where they feel okay, and they can still work with the energy of a womb even if they don't physically have one anymore, if that makes sense. So and older women, there's like a woman who have passed menopause, and they maybe have something to clear, and it could be they might have had a lot of miscarriages in their past, and they're finding that hard to let go of, even if they're so much older. There's just lots of different things, and there's no right or wrong. And it can be open to anybody.
No, that's good. I think that's really good for other people to know, like that you don't have to be looking to get pregnant. So let's talk about business. Complete Wellness has been running for 7 years, didn't you say? So 2016 was when you first opened. You're in Lisburn, and of course, like, you're at the helm of that, so you're the gravitational center, I suppose. And you're effectively running the show, and different therapists can come and go as well. And you do have some of them that have been with you for quite a long time as well.
Since 2016.
Yeah,
which is
wow,
lovely. It's
amazing.
Like a real family.
So yeah, obviously we talked about your sort of experience in banking and stuff like that, but other than that, had you had any experience in business or had any sort of ideas of business and being your own boss?
Not really. I just knew I wanted to be my own boss.
Yeah.
So that was the main thing. I think coming from working in a kind of office environment and corporate environment where you're always answering to people and needing approval for this, that and the other, being self-employed was something that seemed very, I'm going to say appetizing, that's not the right word.
Well, yeah, no, ideal.
Appealing.
It worked, yeah.
Appealing to me, where I could be my own boss, only have to answer to myself and pick and choose my own hours, really.
Yeah.
So, but apart from that, I'm one of those people that will well, let's give it a go and see what happens. And I'll learn as I go.
Yeah.
And believe me, it has been a big learning curve.
Yeah.
I think, like even balancing your own books, doing your accounts, just getting like health and safety kind of things done, insurances, those kind of more boring.
Yeah, mundane.
Things that I really don't like to do, but I know they're very important, when you're setting up your own business. So yeah, it's been a real learning curve and something that you do, like I've just learned as I've gone.
Yeah.
I try not to overthink it, because if you're kind of looking from the get-go, you might find that a bit overwhelming. So kind of like baby steps.
Yeah.
But I suppose it's really important to have yourself covered, so that, you can't get taken to court.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, we talked a little bit about sort of taking risks earlier. And I think if somebody's going into business with the thought of all of these risks and all of the potential, what if it doesn't work, what if this goes wrong, or, what if I can't pay for this? Like, what if negatives, then you're more than likely only going to see the negatives in it.
Yeah.
And you're going to constantly be in that sort of, that energy of despair or hopelessness in a sense. Whereas if you come at it in an opportunistic way, and that's something I really sort of looked at when we were doing ours is, and somebody said to me, that's a big risk that you're taking. And I was like, it's also a big opportunity as well, and if it doesn't work, I still have my life.
Exactly.
Like, I'm still alive.
Yeah.
That's
like, what's the worst that can happen?
That's the main thing, I was going to talk about the training academy, and what it is and why you're doing it, So for those people that might be interested in what it might be, give us a little bit of a rundown of what it is that you're offering.
So I am very much of the opinion I like to keep things as easy and simple as possible for people, because I know what it's like to jump through hoops and for things to be a slog, and I didn't want that for other people. So I think the way I've gone about this is I want people to be able to explore the potential of, if they're interested in holistic therapies and maybe doing it themselves, whether it be on family and friends or with an option to change their career ultimately. I wanted to make it as user-friendly and as open to as many people as possible. So I have gone down the route of writing the course that they complete the theory part of it online. So they can do that in their own time, which makes it so much more flexible for them and their time as well. And then the practical days will be held in the centre. So it's like they get the best of both worlds, I kind of think, because they're, getting the more learning stuff where they have to actually read and maybe write stuff and answer questions done at a time that suits them, but they've got their practical days to look forward to, where they've either booked them off work or it's at a weekend, so they can come, if they are working full-time anyway. This is their little escapism, where they can explore this new exciting therapy that they're passionate about, and they get to practice it on other people. They get taught the moves, so they get to experience what it's like to give it, but also to receive it. And again, it's like creating that little special bond with the students, that they're like, on that journey together to explore. And I know what it was like myself, even when I still these days go on, courses myself. It's just that time away and time to yourself to learn something, but, experience something different.
The last section of every podcast is our magic 3 questions. They can be as short as you want, or you can give them a bit more detail, and they're the same for everybody. So the first question is, what is the best advice you've ever heard? Not necessarily been given, but you could have heard it somewhere.
I forget the saying now that you've put me on the spot. Oh yes, if you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're right.
Yeah.
I just love that one. So I always, I'm a complete optimist in life. I just think, there's, there can be a can't, but there's always, let's turn it into a can as much as we can, or what can you do? It's like the baby steps, isn't it, to get to where you want to be. But if something is not sitting right with you and does not feel vibrationally right, it's going, right, well, what do I need to do to change this? Because we can. And I think that's a big problem. A lot of people feel stuck and too scared.
Yeah.
So,
That's amazing. I love that quote. I've heard that before, yeah. Number 2 is, what is the most valuable lesson you've learned in life so far?
Always believe in yourself.
Love it. Yeah.
I just think that's one that's really seen me through. And if there's bad times, they will pass. So we all go through, different dips and obstacles in our life, but it's like knowing that you're not always going to feel that way.
Yeah, I really believe in the phrase, this too shall pass. Whether it's a good time or a bad time, it's life is not linear and you're going to go through those motions, but yeah, that's amazing. Third and final question. True North is direction towards purpose. What do you define as your purpose at this stage in your life?
I think it's, creating that, creating a pathway for, and to show other people that they don't have to be stuck in something that they're not happy with, and that to try different things that will make their life better, whether it's the way they feel personally, or whether it's a career change, or whether it's just doing something for themselves. But I suppose I want to be able to show people that I've done that. I've been able to do that, and you can as well. You don't have to just be stuck in the same old, and do something that makes you feel good and that you're passionate about and that you love, because going into work is not like working for me.
Yeah, it's something that I feel as well. When I go to work, I don't even like to call it work, because you're just sort of like, oh, I'm going to do what I love to do, and most of the time it's helping other people in some way, shape or form, whatever it may be. So that's amazing. Amazing answers. Listen, thank you very much for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me.
And for having a chat with me, and hopefully, all of those people listening at home will have some sort of touch point to refer to that they will find inspiration and value from. If anybody's looking for Complete Wellness Therapies, where can they find, and we're going to put the links in the description and stuff like that anyway, but where can they generally find you?
In Bridge Street in Lisburn, on the website, which is www.completewellnesstherapies.com, on Facebook and Instagram.
Amazing. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Natalie. If you've enjoyed today's episode with Natalie, please feel free to rate this podcast. And if you have any questions, or if there's anything that you find challenging about the podcast, feel free to get in touch and let us know, because it's always great to share opinions. And all of the details for Natalie and Complete Wellness will be in the description of this podcast, wherever you get your podcast. So for now, thank you very much. Have a great week. And thank you very much, Natalie, for joining us.